Hello and good morning. At the beginning, there are three. Three of what, you may ask? Three obstacles that WeChat and Tencent must overcome to add greater value for long running flourishment of SMEs in China. And although there are four of us tackling these three issues, it's safe to say that we have the advantage in numbers and will provide that one stop solution that encompasses all of China's SME woes and worries. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Team APU, and we are here today to show how WeChat can effectively use tech for good to add value for SMEs to create a better, sustainable environment for all.
All right. Imagine that you are a local vendor who just is trying to make a good day's worth of sales by selling high quality vegetables, for example. Now, with increasing tensions created by the pandemic, the rising costs of commodities, supply chain issues, labor shortages, it is getting increasingly difficult to keep up with the bigger brands, such as, for example, Walmart, which is one of the biggest brands in China. Now, we have to think about how you can adapt, how you can increase your speed. Now, a lot of neighborhood people, a lot of folks have been saying that, hey, maybe you can incorporate technology into the mix. We have heard that fintech can come in handy. Now, when this local vendor looks into the options, they see that WeChat Pay is a great opportunity. However, the costs that come into play when you're trying to go into fintech and to payment methods is increasingly high. It doesn't really match with your with the funds available. However, it could help meet your business needs. This is the problem facing a lot of SMEs, which make up 90% of the companies in China and generate 80% of the jobs in the country. Moving on.
So a general overview is Tencent's ESG objective, which is value for users, tech for good, which means Tencent is committed to improving its corporate environmental, social, and governance criteria. One of their efforts was to provide technical solutions to assist SME. SME is very important to a country. However, they often had limited resources or different unmet business needs, which made it more difficult to survive and succeed than those larger companies. Next slide, please. Tencent assessed their social impacts of tech for good on three levels, which are stakeholder reach, appeal and engagement, and lastly, value addition. They also conducted and reviewed ESG from five perspectives, which are business operations, users, business partners, community, and environment. Next slide. The case also mentions some SME challenges, which are categorized as payment method, payment confirmation, business management, and merchant security assurance. Next, the case implies that WeChat has some SME segmentation. For example, SMEs that use only face-to-face payments is served by the small and medium-sized merchant product center, which has the goal of making WeChat Pay the first choice for SMEs in China to receive money payments.
Next, we'll be taking a look at the problems that we've analyzed that the SMEs are facing in using WeChat. We have, as been mentioned in the beginning, three core issues. First is literacy. Now, how is literacy an issue here? Well, most of the SME owners are having problems in understanding how WeChat Pay works and how to properly utilize it. Imagine that an SME is essentially, for example, a grandmother who's 50 to 60 years old, who's running a kitchen out, who's running a fast food, or maybe a street cart, or maybe just a kitchen out of her own home in order to support her family, in order to support her loved ones. Well, for them, it's very natural to not be as tech savvy or to not be the tech guru who knows how to operate different applications. Not only that, it's also difficult and completely normal for them to not have that business knowledge, to not understand how the marketing procedures, how the customer relationship management and all of that work. It's also normal for them to not know how the application has different segments, has different little tools here and there tucked away that can make their lives easier. a lot of value exists, and we can add a lot of more value on top of that. However, value without awareness of the value existing can be meaningless. And so one of our first goals here today is to make sure to not only just add the value, but add additional value by letting them understand and be aware of everything that's available for them. Next up is interface and experience. Now, we've noticed and we've read and we've realized in our analysis that the interface and experience of the application for WeChat Pay is difficult for its users. Why and how? Imagine if you're a retailer with a small business who has a number of transactions coming in daily. You might be faring a bit better than the general SME, but hey, it's a business nonetheless. And so when you have 1,000, 2,000, maybe consumers as an SME, and you have a lot of transactions coming in all the time, and then you need to do customer relationship management, and you have a lot of different customers and customer portfolios. Well, then within the WeChat Pay app as it can be time consuming and difficult. It can become inefficient because your transactions, personal and business, they can be difficult to differentiate in between, and not to mention it can become overcrowded doing so many transactions and so many business related activities on the one application. And therefore the interface and experience department of the WeChat Pay app for businesses and SMEs is something that we've also come to realize is a growing issue, and that's also something we'll be tackling today.
All right. As we know, good product is nothing without good design, right? That's what Alan had said, who was the parent of WeChat. Now, moving on to external barriers, we have seen that the government of China has been trying really hard to support SMEs by providing tax reductions, by providing other sorts of reliefs and subsidies. However, we cannot overlook the fact that there are some barriers created by the law here. For example, KYC, which is the know your customer that has to be performed by the SMEs, where they are required to submit documents such as business licenses and payment verification. And to actually do this, oftentimes they require own personal computers and IT skills, both requiring money and knowledge, which is difficult for a majority of the SMEs. And even if they do the process right at the first go, it still takes 2 to 3 days for it to be processed and for the payment to actually begin. Furthermore, we have seen that the People's Republic Bank of China, as of March 2022, has made a new rule where the personal payment codes can only be used for making transactions face-to-face. And has also been the introduction of the business payment codes, which helps with the credit card options. However, to actually effectively use them, the SMEs need to be aware of the options that they have available. Next up is the printing and funding. Now, as we have seen in the case that many of the SMEs, they prefer to have their QR codes displayed so that the customers can scan it. However, a lot of them are also skeptical that what if anyone can just scan the QR code and then they can just hack the system, or they can take away money illegally. Therefore, some of them even hide the QR codes. Now, we have to tackle with this as well, and the fact that printing facilities can often be hard to find, or it's oftentimes difficult for them to print. Now, there is also the factor of funding. A lot of them don't have enough money to integrate fintech into their systems. And lastly, interconnectivity. Without knowing the right partners, they might not be able to mitigate the supply chain issues they have and the labor issues that they are currently facing. Next, please.
So next, we're going to be taking a look at what are we recommending as a team and as a consulting company for WeChat in order to get past these issues. Well, today we've come with you with Wepower. Wepower as in us empowering SMEs in China. Now, how does Wepower work and what is Wepower? Well, Wepower is that all-encompassing solution that consists of a few little subsections, namely WeBot, WeGrow, and a nice interface and a nice application interface overhaul and relaunch of the user interface and experience design in order to better leverage the application strengths and APIs to help the SMEs in accordingly with the different needs that they have. The SMEs are varied and large, and with each SME, they have different needs and different business scenarios that need to be tackled. And our plan with Wepower is to help and give them that assistance accordingly. So regardless of whether you're that grandmother in that kitchen, regardless of whether you're that family who has a catering company, and regardless of whether or not you're running that retail business or something else, Wepower will empower these businesses, regardless of the sector industry, to make sure that these SMEs flourish in the long run.
So next, we would recommend the UX and the UI and AI development within the existing Webot app. The left is the Webot's current interface, but we will be adding a personal or business option so users can quickly change between the two accounts. So once a user navigates to the business account, they will either be navigated to their existing account or asked to create a new business. The user will then be asked to choose the store type and will be shown the pros of using WeChat Pay in their business. Then, users will be required to watch a short 1-minute tutorial upon how to use the service with the introduction of Webot. Webot will be an AI service made by Tencent's machine learning and cloud computing technology. This program will be an automated message system where when the store clerk is away from the phone, customers can make valid purchases. The bot will be asking the price range of the consumer and generate the recommendation of customers. Once purchases has been made, the invoice will be automatically saved to order history. Webot will be available under the hamburger on the top right at any time and will provide multiple pay options depending on the store type. After the tutorial, there will be a document submission and terms of agreement page. There will be a camera function for scanning important documents needed for the submission. Lastly, users will be greeted by this clean and simple interface that provides everything necessary to run the WeChat Pay account. With their account info, order history, supplier, chat, API analytics, and Webot settings. Next slide, please. Okay. Our second recommendation is WeGrow, a movement for WeChat Pay to achieve a better brand image and gain trust from the users by practicing better CSR. We'd like to present 3 categories: community engagement, beach cleaning, and government integration interconnectivity. The community engagement will be focused on business and IT literacy. In this case, it was mentioned that Chinese SMEs were lacking these 2 major components, which prevented them from utilizing WeChat Pay to their benefit. Therefore, by providing a highly reliable Webot with advanced AI developed by Tencent and a team of supporters open for any help. Next, the beach cleanup or any kind of community-based service. This derives employee engagement as they show employees that their company supports them expressing their individual values and interests, and ultimately fosters a sense that they are part of a bigger cause, whether that be a charitable or a business mission. As a result of this, companies that actively promote volunteer programs consistently record greater employee satisfaction and higher morale. Additionally, having a well-established corporate volunteer program will differentiate the company from others, which makes decisions based purely on profits. Lastly, government integration interconnectivity. Referring back to the previous recommendation, we will provide customers with faster verification speed and notify SMEs that are not knowledgeable about the benefits governments are providing for applicable stores. Next, please.
Next, we have the risk and mitigation. So what risks are there for the solutions that we're offering, and how will we mitigate them? Well, the first obstacle, as with any new change, is the resistance to change. And well, even if there is resistance to change and users are unfamiliar or they're not really accepting of these changes, you'll see in a bit how we have a slow expansion plan in the works that allow WeChat Pay to do research and development as they're doing the application redesign and overhaul in order to meet those customer and user needs and satisfy them while offering that value to the SMEs. Next up is the next obstacle that possibly can be faced is the lack of understanding and integration. And now one of the issues here is that how will the users know that this new addition to the application exists? How will they know to make these changes? Well, we have the Webot AI, and the Webot AI will be their partner and will be that bot that assists them in answering those orders, in differentiating between those payments, and helping them accordingly to their business needs. And our team will be behind this Webot AI and this assistance and WeGrow learning and interconnectivity. And so when we push out the messages, when we push out a global message that, hey, we have a new update in WeChat and WeChat Pay. If you're a business or if you want to be a business, check this out. And so after that, alongside the screen overlays and the different changes that we have, it should be, in our opinion, self-explanatory and easy to learn with the different tutorials we have alongside it to teach the users on how to use these new changes.
All right, so now moving on to the timeline. It may seem like we all have all of it planned out thoroughly, right? However, that's not the case. And therefore, in the beginning, we will have a 6 to 7 month time frame where we will be preparing for the launch. So at first, we need to do a management by objective method where we will have a thorough assessment of what are our actual goals with Wepower and how are we going to manage it. And next, we need to think about the research and development of WeBot and the entire UI UX interface. It seems like we have it planned out with the small buttons and with the generating of the order history and everything. However, does this really cater to each and every segment of the industry? And does each industry need a different type of layout? This cannot be achieved without the thorough research and development through testing and such, and which is why we have this time frame for that. And next, we need to also consider WeGrow planning. WeGrow is a campaign to make inclusivity for the whole community and the opportunities provided by the government and other local facilities. However, we need to have a thorough understanding of what's available in the industries, what the government is providing, and how each resource can be allocated to a certain type of industry. So by having the thorough understanding of the surroundings, we can properly plan how we're going to launch the connections one by one. Next, in 2023, we can see that we have a prototype and market research. This is basically where we go to different parts of China, and we put focus group analysis where we ask different types of people, we segment them, and we ask them that, hey, if this were offered to you, how would you feel? And by having this market research, we can further adapt our product to them. Next, we have the launch in Guangdong, which is one of the main provinces. And by analyzing the information we get from this launch, we can then move on to the nationwide launch in 2024, the very beginning. So we have almost a 2 year or a 1.5 year time frame to actually analyze the data we're getting. And at the end, we will do a key opinion leader integration where this will basically be the influencer method. And next, we will have performance measures where we will evaluate that could we have done better integration, maybe the Tencent, the Moments feature, or other features such as the WeChat Moments or the Charity Foundation platform. How can we integrate them to co-create ecosystems, and how can we better utilize our open platforms? These are a lot of factors that we have to consider, and without continuous performance evaluation and measurement, we cannot move forward and adapt. Next slide. So here is a rough overview of the financials. Throughout reading the case, we have realized that WeChat and Tencent, they have a gradual growth tendency. Therefore, the entire basis of the financial implications has been the fact that we grow gradually, and by slowly expanding and by increasing our research efforts, we can gain more and more net profits at a gradual rate. And once we have launched in 2024, we will have higher and higher profit gains, hopefully. Next slide, please.
Last but not least, in conclusion, through our Wepower movement, our goal and aim is to not only empower and assist these SMEs, but help them in creating that value that will allow them to thrive into the future. Because as we all know, for most SMEs, after the first year, they generally tend to fail. And our goal is to make sure that that does not happen. So what is Wepower? Well, Wepower is not only a goal. Wepower is not only an application overhaul. Wepower is not just we bought and we grow. Wepower is a movement. Wepower is us helping the SMEs to assist the communities and the societies within China in order to combat the literacy design and outreach issues that these SMEs face, to create a better society, a better community, and a better future for these SMEs and for these communities in the long run. And not last but not least, no matter where they are or what pinch they're in, WeBot will always be there to help, answer, and assist. Thank you all, and thank you for listening to our presentation. We are Team APU, and we've been glad to present here today.
Thank you for your presentation. It's now time for the Q&A session. Judges, please make the questions short and concise and leave your thoughts and comments for the feedback session. The 15-minute countdown starts now. Let's hear the first question.
Hello, hi. Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple questions. Maybe I start first. In terms of the SME segment, as you know, China is really big. There are different segments of SMEs. One a bigger SME, there are a small SME as well. Which type of SME are you referring to in your presentation?
Okay. Is it for the ACRC assistant, is it okay if we reshare our slide for answering questions?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Munta, can you go to the timeline? Okay. So as you can see here that we go for a gradual approach. So we will be first finding out in the Guangdong launch and the prototype testing in 2023 to see which SMEs it suits the best and where the demand is most needed. Basically, where are our products most needed? And according to the data we can gather from that focus group research and from the launch in one province only, from there on, we will go to more targeted marketing and targeted segmenting, where we will be better aware of whether we are suited to smaller SMEs or to bigger SMEs. But currently, without actually having prototype launching or such, it's very difficult to actually say whether we're targeting small ones or bigger ones, because we also hope that the product team, they can also visit different SMEs like they have been doing right now to get their feedback and such. And by using that information, we can determine further of who we want to target and how we want to target. So that is also a part of our timeline plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Riding on the, you mentioned about Guangdong, because Guangdong is quite big, and to be very honest, is place with very modern city like Guangzhou and Shenzhen, and also less developed cities. Okay, so have you think about this type of challenges? Because if you sell the idea as Guangdong, that means it's all types of city. Will you focus on more modern city or less developed city?
Thank you for your question, Richard.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. And
Yeah.
see, our plan with the WeChat Pay application application interface changes is that we want to create that ecosystem where, regardless of whether you're an SME from the rural counties or you're an SME trying to make it big in the big city, anybody and everybody has the assistance that they need. And so our goal with making Guangdong was that because it has modern cities like Shenzhen and Guangzhou, and also because it has like less modern cities and rural areas, it's the perfect example. It's the perfect test area where we have the best of both worlds to see how it fares and who needs it the most. And it also will help us get that data and harvest the data to ensure that the API of WeBot can assist these SMEs accordingly. And so that's why we, instead of choosing a province like Shenzhen, we gave this a lot of thought, and we wanted to go for the entire Guangdong area province, because it allows us to have that overview of the different types of SMEs.
Okay, so you try to target on both type of city, modern as well as less developed. So
yes,
yeah. So how would you design your ecosystem and finally your products to meet the quite extreme type of economies?
Well, Richard, thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Again, so the WeChat ecosystem, if you'll see here, the WeChat ecosystem is essentially a very fluid and a very simple process that we're designing here. Essentially, it has the capability to cater to those SMEs with 1,000 consumers and those who have, let's say, a few thousand consumers as well, right? And so the way it works is that there is a capacity for larger SMEs to implement their business plans within the WeChat Pay app. However, that doesn't mean that smaller SMEs can't use it. Of course, they can. And so our ecosystem has that space for different SMEs to be able to use it. It depends on their approach and what their business really needs. And so what we want to do is, regardless of what they need, is to provide that extra value and go above and beyond to tell them, hey, if you want to have that ecosystem for 1,000 consumers, we have that for you. And hey, if you want to expand it, and if you're doing really good, you go to 2,000, maybe 3,000, maybe even more, we can help you with that as well. And so that's the type of ecosystem we're designing, so that it's not that they grow or he grows, but it's that we grow and we empower.
Another thing just to add is that we are basically wanting to design WeBot in a way so that it's like the one-stop solution. Basically, if you ask WeBot anything regarding that, hey, this is my criteria, I need help, WeBot should have the AI capabilities to make suggestions and recommendations. And depending on the business needs, AI will be giving hints and tips to increase their business output and such. So it's basically, we are trying to capitalize on the cloud computing and the functionalities that Tencent already possesses, the information that Tencent already has, by incorporating into the AI and developing an overall encompassing WeBot, which will be answering and giving hints according to the needs of the business. However, as we mentioned, it's like a trial and error method. We gain information and we adapt. We have to be flexible to the changes, and we have to do constant evaluation and constant adapting. So as you said, we might face challenges, right? So our team will be constantly taking feedback, as they're already doing. Actually, the product team takes constant feedback by visiting different shops. So we will be taking constant feedbacks. We will be also giving the SMEs the API analytics, where they can also check the market trends for their industry. So overall, it should be an inclusive method through which we are getting the data, and at the same time, the SMEs also get information for their type of industry through the WeBot app solution, basically.
Amy, any more questions from you?
Yeah, I have another question in terms of the timeline. You mentioned about in 2024, you have a nationwide launch, just right after the Guangdong launch. So, China was really big. So what kind of nationwide launch do you refer to? Which cities, which provinces, and so on?
Right. When we checked the information for China, we saw that there are like 333 prefectures and some provinces as well, and like provinces encompass 333 prefectures. So we, again, as my colleague had mentioned, we chose Guangdong because it's like the hub. It has different types of businesses, and it can be the perfect sample. So since we give April, December, which is a lot of months, basically, it's like 7-8 months, it gives a lot of time for us to analyze the data we have from the different samples we have inside Guangdong. So we're choosing Guangdong because it provides us like 5-6 different types of industries, perhaps, and it gives us different samples to work with. So therefore, by using the information we get from this diverse sample, because of the diverse nature of the industries, we can use it to go for the nationwide launch. And again, it's us adapting. If we see that things aren't going that great for Guangdong, maybe instead of nationwide launch, we will do it for like 2 other provinces instead of doing it overall with the nation. Currently, we're saying nationwide launch because we are hoping and we are assuming that Guangdong will give us enough data because of their diverse sample for us to actually go forward with the nationwide launch. But in case that doesn't work out, we hope to go for maybe the neighboring regions, so that it's easier for delivery reasons, for like connecting for the interconnectivity reasons. So it really depends on the situation at that time, because we have a mindset of flexibly adapting to any and all situations. But currently, we are assuming Guangdong would be the perfect sample for us to work with and move on for a nationwide launch.
Okay, thank you. Okay, on your slides about the risk and mitigants, you mentioned about there's resistance from the SME to adapt to change. So how can you resolve it?
Have you?
Sorry, Richard.
No problem.
All right. Thank you for that question. So yes, SMEs generally as busy as they are, and as not tech savvy as they are, can be resistant to this change. And so the plan for this is in a few different steps. The first and foremost is generally for those SMEs that are already using WeChat Pay, those will be, in our opinion, the first adopters, because they'll get that like provincial wide message that, hey, WeChat Pay has a new update for SMEs and businesses in particular, and you can test it out, and so on and so forth. Not only that, because we already have the SME product center already online, not online, on field, we'll use these on-field agents and on-field employees of WeChat in order to visit these SMEs and go and advertise it and mention it in person. And so our hope is that once they're aware of this, and once they're aware of what it can bring and what it can do, maybe if they want to do a mini program on the WeChat application, they can do that, and we'll provide the assistance for that. Obviously, there's licensing and involved within all of that, and we'll assist them in that too. But regardless of that, it's that they'll be resistant to change, but we'll be sending our agents, we'll be sending these messages, we'll be telling them about the pros and cons and the values that they can have. And as you see here, so when they do see that, okay, maybe something's changed, let me check it out, one of the first things that they see is the different pros. Obviously, this is a bit of a short list here with less data, but then in actuality, it'll be a much more comprehensive list detailing with numbers and facts about how their businesses can be valued and assisted by using the changes that we're trying to implement here. And so with all of these different little cogs that we have in play, we're hopeful that even if there is time to change, they'll be slowly but surely adopting them.
Yeah, and just to add, like, for example, in the next slide, you will see that we have an icon for the tutorial. We hope to have a partnership with one of the video companies in China. For example, Weibo is one of them, so that users who are currently using that platform will also get the notification that, hey, there's a new video from this company, or it will just come into their the feed, basically, so that they can see that there's something new going on in the tech field. So we hope that by interconnectivity within WeChat as well, we can attract more and more consumers for this segment. Yeah.
Thank you.
A quick question. In views of the functionality of the ePower, will you focus on just payment, or you will try to help the SME to start their e-business?
Can you repeat the last word?
Okay. Will you, in views of the functionality to be provided in the app or WeChat mini program, will you focus on payment, or you mentioned about ecosystem? What type of features that you will be included in the ecosystem? Are you focusing to help them to start some e-business within their city?
Right. So apologies if it looks like we're focusing mainly on the payment, but actually we hope that, as currently you may know, that WeChat has WeChat Moments, which can be used for marketing purposes, where the businesses can upload their WeChat Moments and have their different like offers onto that system, so that customers who are not even using WeChat Pay, they can see the moments and they are aware that, hey, this is happening, so we might want to like visit this shop or such. That's one way we'll help them in marketing in that. Other than that, if you go to the next slide, you will see that there's this thing called API analytics, which basically shows the market trends and current situations in the industry, is what we hope to integrate here by understanding what type of store they are, which industry they operate in. So they are getting the market data and such. And other than that, as we mentioned before about We Grow is where we also try to have community engagement and learning. So by that, those who are not aware of tech, those who kind of lack the business know-how, they can also access not just the sources that we provide, but also the resources that government provides. Our research shows that the Chinese government has separate like initiatives for SMEs where they try to help them with business development. But again, a lot of SMEs are not aware of this, right? So we try to give them the information where Webot from time to time notifies them that, hey, this resource is available. Do you want to use it? So it's basically a mix of push notifications, a mix of having the data available, and also the payment system, of course, where they have automated invoices so that they don't lose their order history and such. It's an integration of technology for good, as WeChat likes to promote it.
Just shortly adding to that, yes, it will also be assisting new businesses as well in order to use the WeChat Pay app and this new ecosystem that we've designed. Because not only is there a tutorial that assists them in understanding how to use WeChat Pay and how it benefits them, but it also has the document submission and terms of agreement so that they can register maybe as a official service account on the WeChat application and will get help accordingly, so they're approved. And so this way, new businesses will be helped as well.
Okay, thank you all. The judges will now stay in the room to deliberate. Dear team, we will place you in the waiting room and bring you back in for the feedback session in a few minutes. Everyone else, please kindly leave the room and we will see you later for the results announcement. Thank you.